Alright everyone, let's talk about something super important in the world of business. It's called a standby letter of credit, or SBLC for short. Now don't let the fancy name scare you. Think of an SBLC as a promise. It's a promise from a bank. A very strong promise. It's like a safety net for your business deals. If one party in a deal doesn't hold up their end, especially when it comes to paying money, the bank with the SBLC steps in. This bank guarantees payment. This ensures that the person who is owed money gets paid. It's all about making sure promises are kept, especially when big money or important projects are on the line. It provides peace of mind, and you know how much I value peace of mind when it comes to your finances. So, how does this SBLC actually work in simple terms? Imagine this scenario. You own a business, and you're about to sell a large order of your amazing products to a brand new customer. You've never worked with them before. They might be in another city, or even another country. Naturally, you're a little nervous. You think, what if they take my goods and then don't pay me? That's a legitimate fear, right? This is where an SBLC can be your best friend. The buyer, your new customer, can go to their bank and get an SBLC. This SBLC is issued in your favor. It basically says, if our customer, buyer X, fails to pay seller Y, that's you, as agreed, then we, the bank, will pay seller Y. This is a powerful guarantee. It reduces your risk significantly. It makes you feel much more comfortable doing business with someone new. Now let's get clear on who the main players are in this SBLC game. First, you have the applicant. This is the company or person who requests the SBLC from their bank. Usually this is the buyer in a transaction, or the party that has an obligation to perform a service. They are the ones applying for the bank's guarantee. Then there's the beneficiary. This is the company or person who will receive the payment if the applicant fails to meet their obligations. In our earlier example, you, the seller, would be the beneficiary. You benefit from the SBLC's protection. And of course, the third key player is the issuing bank. This is the bank that reviews the applicant's request and, if approved, issues the standby letter of credit. The bank puts its own creditworthiness on the line. Why do they call it a standby letter of credit? It's called standby because it literally stands by, waiting in the background. It's not the primary way payment is supposed to happen. It only comes into play if there's a default, if something goes wrong with the original agreement. Think of it like an emergency backup generator for your house. You hope you never have to use it. You want the main power to stay on. But if there's a blackout, you're so glad that generator is there, ready to kick in. The SBLC is just like that for business deals. The main contract is supposed to work smoothly. The buyer is supposed to pay. But if they don't, the SBLC is there as a fallback. This standby nature makes it a very specific and useful financial tool. So, you've decided an SBLC is what your business needs. Smart move. But how do you actually get one? Your first step is to talk to your bank. It's usually best to approach a bank where you already have an established business relationship. They know you, they know your business's financial history. You need to clearly explain to them why you need the SBLC. What's the purpose? Are you trying to secure a deal with a new supplier? Are you bidding on a large contract that requires a financial guarantee? The more details you provide about the underlying transaction, the better the bank can understand your request and structure the SBLC appropriately. Be prepared to discuss the amount needed and the duration for which the SBLC should be valid. What will the bank want from you? Well, get ready for some paperwork, people. Banks need to be thorough, and that means forms and documents. You will need to fill out a specific application for a standby letter of credit. This application will ask for very specific details. You'll need to state the exact amount of money to be covered by the SBLC. You must clearly identify the beneficiary, who is the SBLC for. You'll also need to specify the validity period of the SBLC, meaning how long it should remain in effect. It's crucial that all this information is accurate and complete. Any mistakes or omissions could delay the process or, worse, result in an SBLC that doesn't serve its intended purpose. So double-check everything. Beyond just the application form, the bank will conduct a thorough assessment of your company's financial health. This is a critical step for them. They are, after all, putting their money on the line for you. They will perform a credit check. They will want to see your recent financial statements, your balance sheet, income statement, and cash flow statements. They need to be convinced that you're a good credit risk and that you're unlikely to default on the underlying obligation. which would then force them to pay out. In many cases, especially if it's a large SBLC or if your credit isn't stellar, the bank might require collateral. This means you'd have to pledge certain assets like cash, securities, or even real estate to secure the SBLC. Once you've submitted your application and all the required documentation, the bank's team will review everything. This isn't an instant process, so you need to factor in some waiting time. Don't apply for an SBLC at the very last minute. The bank's credit department will analyze the risk associated with issuing the SBLC in your name. If they are satisfied with your financial standing and the terms of the request, they will approve your application. Upon approval, the bank will formally issue the standby letter of credit, and yes, there will be fees. Banks charge for this service, usually an annual percentage of the SBLC amount. Make sure you understand all the costs involved. The issued SBLC is then delivered to the beneficiary, often through their bank, providing them with that all-important financial security. Let's get down to the nitty-gritty, the good and the not-so-good of using SBLCs. First, the advantages, because there are many. The single biggest plus of an SBLC is the trust and confidence it builds. Imagine two companies wanting to do business. Maybe they are new to each other. Maybe one is in New York and the other is in Singapore. An SBLC bridges that gap of uncertainty. The party receiving the SBLC, the beneficiary, feels secure. They know that if the other party, the applicant, fails to meet their contractual obligations, the bank will make them whole. This significantly reduces risk. And when risk is reduced, businesses are more willing to engage, to trade, and to grow. You want those opportunities, don't you? Another fantastic advantage is that SBLCs can often help you negotiate better terms for your deals. If you are a buyer and you can offer your supplier an SBLC, you're showing you are serious and financially backed. This might persuade the supplier to give you a better price for their goods. Or perhaps they'll offer you more favorable payment terms, like paying 60 days later instead of upfront. For sellers, an SBLC means your payment is virtually guaranteed. No more sleepless nights worrying if that big check will arrive. This security allows you to confidently enter new markets, even those that might seem a bit riskier. It frees up your mental energy and your cash flow to focus on what you do best, running your business. Now let's be real, it's not a perfect world, and SBLCs do have some downsides. The most significant one is the cost. Banks are not charities, my friends. They provide this guarantee service and they charge fees for it. These fees are typically calculated as a percentage of the total SBLC value, and they are often charged annually. So, if you need an SBLC for a large amount of money, or if it needs to be in place for several years, these fees can become a substantial expense. You absolutely must factor these costs into the overall economics of your deal. You need to sit down and ask yourself, is the protection and benefit I'm getting from this SBLC worth the fees I have to pay? Only you can answer that for your business. What other potential drawbacks should you be aware of? Well, as I mentioned earlier, banks often require collateral to issue an SBLC. This means you might have to pledge some of your company's assets. This could be cash in a deposit account, marketable securities, or even real estate. When these assets are tied up as collateral, you can't use them for other business needs or investments. This can impact your company's liquidity. Furthermore, the application process for an SBLC can sometimes feel complex and time-consuming with all the paperwork and scrutiny involved. For very small businesses or startups, this could seem a bit overwhelming at first. But don't let that deter you if the need is real. Just be prepared, do your homework, and don't be afraid to ask your banker lots of questions. So, why are companies, big and small, actually using standby letters of credit in today's fast-paced business environment? One of the most common uses, as we've touched upon, is in international trade. Think about a company based in Germany that wants to purchase specialized equipment from a manufacturer in Japan. The Japanese manufacturer might be hesitant to build and ship expensive equipment without a solid payment guarantee. The German company can approach its bank and obtain an SBLC in favor of the Japanese manufacturer. This SBLC assures the manufacturer that they will be paid once they ship the equipment according to the terms. This kind of financial security is absolutely essential for facilitating smooth and reliable global commerce. It helps businesses cross borders with confidence. SBLCs are also incredibly important for guaranteeing performance on projects. This is very common in the construction industry, for example. Let's say a city government hires a construction company to build a new bridge. The city will want assurance that the company will complete the project on time, within budget, and according to all the agreed-upon specifications. The construction company can provide a performance SBLC. If, for some reason, the contractor fails to fulfill their contractual obligations, maybe they abandon the project or do shoddy work, the city government, the beneficiary, can make a claim on the SBLC. The funds received can then be used to hire another contractor or cover any losses incurred. This keeps projects on track and protects the project owner's investment. Now let's clarify how a company gives an SBLC. A company doesn't really give an SBLC to a bank. Instead, the company, which we call the applicant, applies for an SBLC from its bank. If the bank approves the application and the company pays the necessary fees and provides any required collateral, the bank then issues the SBLC. This SBLC is created for the benefit of a third party, known as the beneficiary. So for instance, if Company A, the applicant, needs to provide a guarantee to Company B, the beneficiary, Company A goes to its bank, Bank X. Bank X issues the SBLC. This SBLC document is then typically transmitted to Company B, or often to Company B's bank, confirming Bank X's commitment. And how does that other company, the beneficiary, actually use the SBLC? Let's stick with Company A, applicant, and Company B, beneficiary, with Bank X as the issuer. If Company A fails to honor its commitment to Company B, for example, Company A doesn't pay for goods it received or fails to complete a service as promised, then Company B can make a claim under the SBLC. To do this, Company B must present specific documents to Bank X, as stipulated in the SBLC itself. These documents serve as proof of Company A's default. If all the documents are in order and the claim is valid according to the SBLC's terms, Bank X is obligated to pay Company B the amount specified. The SBLC has then fulfilled its purpose, protecting the beneficiary from loss. It's a powerful mechanism for ensuring financial responsibility.